What's going on, you guys? My name is Baldy, and in today's video, I was gonna talk about the Season 3 patch, Season 3 DLC, and yeah, that's really it. Before I start with that, though, I do want to say that I am going to be posting more with it being the summer for me now, and I'm just gonna have some more free time. I will have to work and whatnot, but there'll definitely be more content on the channel and more streams in general. So I want to just talk about first and foremost the system changes they did. I know they kind of nerfed slash adjusted sweeps, which I don't know. For me, it comes off as one of those changes where it was only really done to like help lower rank people. And if you don't know what that change was, basically they just made it to where if it's a counter hit or a normal hit, you can back roll a sweep on your recovery. So this is a kind of a bad thing I want to say for gief because, for example, let's say you're in the corner, right, and you manage to get like a really lucky sweep. Before you'd be able to drive rush. Oh wait, no. Well, yeah, no, you'd be able to drive rush forward and side switch, even if it was a normal hit or a counter hit. But now that's only gonna work if it's a punish counter, which I mean, gief sweep is not really the type of sweep that is just gonna you're gonna be able to throw out randomly because it's pretty slow and it's minus a billion on block. So that kind of hurts. He does get some other setups with it though. I think you do something like this, or not that. Like that's an example of something he could do. He could like do a little forward and then do that. You can still just do something simple as like this for an SPD. I saw some setups by the Fat Manatee on Twitter that seemed pretty good. But those are kind of just like examples of things you could do. Because I think they actually made the move a little more plus on the knockdown. But they didn't put that in the patch notes for some reason. But then they also changed Perfect Parry to kind of make it more like Street Fighter 3's Perfect Parry. Or even just like Street Fighter 5's parry system. Where if you just do down back for like a low, then you're gonna get it. But if you just do a normal parry, you're not gonna get the screen freeze like how you would usually. Like you would still hear the sound effect, but the frame data wouldn't change at all for the move, making it to where you have to actually like press the direction of the move, like how you would block it usually for a parry, which I actually think is a good change because there's definitely some times where whenever you're like on someone, whenever you're doing someone's like offense, you pretty much just have to hope and pray that you get a perfect parry, or you just like randomly toss out like a perfect parry in the neutral and whatnot. In the case that you do end up like parrying something just to like sway in your momentum, which I think it is a slight nerf to defense, and it also hurts charge characters in a way. But at the same time, I do think it also, helps against like the randomness to the game and whatnot, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing because it definitely did get annoying having to deal with someone who would just like down back and then randomly tap perfect parry. And I mean, even in the Season 2 patch, they already increased the recovery of like tap parry to begin with. So I think they're just trying to make parry not as strong. Which I think is good. Another change they did, which I personally don't know how to feel, is that they ended up adding scaling to drive rush. Like the drive rushing crouching medium kicks that can't be special canceled. Think like Manone, gief, JP, which if you ask my opinion about it, I don't think that was necessarily a problem that they were unscaled. Because I think, number one, a lot of those moves, like their reward on like normal hit or counter hit, sometimes even on a punish counter, just kind of suck to begin with, in my opinion. And like the moves like this that you could actually just special cancel out of had a lot more potential to like sway things in someone's favor, as opposed to doing like a drive rush into a low. Which another thing with that too, in my opinion, is that like a lot of those characters with who had to do drive rush crouching medium kick, they didn't really have good overheads like that. At least for gief, I don't think his overhead is really not one where you can just like do like that and like mix up with this. Marissa's is kind of slower, and you don't really see Marissa players go for it very often. I guess JP's was good. And Manone's overhead, I mean, it really wasn't all that good. You could just parry, you could parry it to be safe. Yeah, I know there's a risk of the command grab, but I mean that's just kind of how that was. It wasn't like anything like super crazy. I don't think it's the worst change ever because realistically, I mean like you're not losing out on that much damage, but it is definitely still there and makes like these characters' offense a little more predictable in my opinion. But it could be worse. It really could be. Yeah, I think that's honestly all of the system changes they ended up doing. I don't have the patch notes pulled up on my second monitor, but from what I remember, let me pull it up actually. Oh yeah, there was another thing too where they made it to where if you tech a throw, you get a bar drive gauge, which I actually think is a good change. But at the same time, though, I think that Street Fighter needs to just stop like beating around the bush and just outright nerf throw loops. The problem with throw loops in this game is just that they're just too good. Like they keep adjusting the throw distance on someone like Kin, and now his throw loop is like literally like 1 frame. They did the same change with Rashid, but like I think he still gets like a really good like shimmy situation regardless. So I'm just like, okay, they got rid of throw loops in Street Fighter 6, in Street Fighter 5. No one was complaining about that. So I'm confused as to why they're not just changing that in Street Fighter 6. And I think there's a lot more like variables from any character in this game compared to like Street Fighter 5 for the most part. To where like doing a change like that would most definitely just be for the better. Like really, I just think throw loops are very annoying, and if you're a character with bad reversals, like say Marissa or Honda or gief or Dalsum, I mean there's genuinely just rounds where you get throw loop nonstop, and that's just how it is because for like say the bigger body characters, you literally, even if you do backdash to throw, you don't like, you can still get counter hit or they can still tech your throw, which is actually another bad thing for those types of characters because then the aggressor will be able to just the aggressor will actually get a bar back from that situation, even though you're trying to tech their, like you're trying to just like tech their throw and whatnot, or you're trying to tech their next throw if they just do it again. So that can be annoying. And it's just, you can just get put in the corner non-stop. It's just, you pretty much just have no way to get out, and you're just stuck there. You might just straight up die. So that's really annoying. I do hope they end up just getting rid of it. Really, I don't know. If you ask my honest, totally non-biased grappler opinion, I think some characters, their throw loops are fine. Like, I think Terry's throw loop is fine because he has to commit with a dash, and there's a lot more like variables to it. But characters like Akuma, Mai, like the ones where they can like throw you, dash at you, and then since their walk speed is so good, they have enough time to like walk back and still shimmy you. I just don't think that should be in the game. I think it's way too strong, way too strong. It's just too much. But yeah. I'm just gonna talk about the gief changes now. I think they're okay. I mean, it's kind of just like whatever to me, to be honest. If you want my honest opinion on it, it's like I like the ODSPD having more range. Obviously, it's a nice change to have, and I'm not complaining about it. But it is also just like, I don't think that's a problem gief had. Like, I'm not complaining about this, don't get me wrong, it's really nice, but he really didn't need it. You know what I mean? Like, this being a universal change, the perfect parry nerf, like, I mean, sure, I don't feel any way about that for gief because it's like a universal thing, right? But I think all of his actual changes, they didn't really do anything to help him. right? Like him having a bigger hurt box means you're probably gonna get counter hit a little bit more. You're probably gonna be noticing some like weird interactions that you didn't see originally. Like I think I saw this tweet the other day where someone was saying how if you're playing Chun-Li and you're trying to throw loop gief, it's actually easier on him because his hurt box is bigger than normal. So that kind of sucks in that regard. I think the Spine Buster change. Listen, if you've ever seen my gameplay, or if you ever played against me, you would know. I would just honestly, I'd spam the hell out of this thing. It's just too good to not use because you were plus 11. You could drive rush afterwards. You're plus 11 after a dash. If you were to do down forward throw into a headbutt, it's a if they hit you, they trade. If they try to jump or backdash, you hit them. So really, the only thing someone could do is honestly just do a reversal or get a perfect parry off of the headbutt. But that's so risky because I'm still pretty much point blank, not point blank, but I'm still very close in your face to where like I can SPD you for free, and I can still, if you do a tap parry, I can walk up with you to you on reaction and still get a throw. And another thing I think that happens as a result of the bigger hurt box, like this is more pushback. Like you can't just like instantly go for a throw after a headbutt, which also in my opinion hurts quite a bit. Obviously you can still go for SBD and stuff, but the risk reward is, I mean, there's still a lot of risk to doing an SBD. No matter how you want to put it, there's still risk behind doing an SBD. So I think that hurts his strike throw game a little bit more, and I think Capcom themselves, they even said that they want him to have a harder time to work in the neutral when gief is already one of the hardest working characters in the neutral. Like I know people were complaining about his like drive rush thing, and honestly, sure, change that. But at the same time, though, it's just like they didn't like he already is one of the hardest working characters in the game, right? Like gief does not just have a skip neutral move that he can do meterlessly or anything like that. The closest thing he had to that was pre-nerf, like drive rush layer, not drive rush layer, it was drive rush, like knee, and that was only because it was if you did it point blank or like this, no matter what, you would be -3. So then you could go for like tap parry or like 720 shenanigans, which was cool. But even then, like it's still not the fastest move, and it can lose to lows on startup. I honestly don't think it was that big of an issue. Maybe because I didn't use it very much, and like players like Mina, they would. But I personally never saw an issue with that. But I digress. So I think it's weird having to make him work even harder in the neutral when he already has to work really hard. Like there are some matchups where in the neutral he quite literally cannot do anything and has to completely rely on the enemy players like own mistakes. Think Ed, Dalsum, Lily, those ones, like literally those, I know they're some of his worst matchups, but those are still like they were so bad, and they are so bad that you can't just cheese your way out of anything like that. Like you have to already work super duper duper hard. Even with Guile, like I guess you can do stuff like drive rush and heavy punch, but like that's still not the greatest option ever, especially since like Guile has such a crazy crouching medium kick. So I don't know. I don't think their idea for this patch was weird because they say all this stuff and they do these changes, but then they want to buff his command grab, and it's just like okay, sure. I don't get it. I don't know. It's weird. And then they end up doing the change where stomps, like, is all of them are a low, which I think is okay. I think stomps are definitely better than what they used to be before all the buffs they've given to it. And honestly, it was probably like bottom 5 move, just period. It's such a worthless move. And I still think it's a pretty bad move simply for the fact of like the reward is still just very like really really bad. Obviously, you can still like you can mix people up with it, which I do appreciate. And it's kind of cool, like visually, but again, it's just the risk reward to doing it. It's really not all that. Like if you drive rush off of it, if it's not a counter hit, you have to do a light, or like you just have to do like lariat, which is kind of just like it's whatever. You can't do health. You can't do crouching medium punch. You can't do hell stab, and then you can't cancel it into level 2 unless you EX lariat it. And I'm just like, oh, okay, sure, I guess. I still think this move needs a little bit more to actually be decent. And also, just another thing with it too is like the range is not very good either. Like you pretty much already have to be like this close to hit them. Which, I mean, even if you do get a hit from pretty far out like that, like, that's probably your best option. You have to use meter right there. And it's just like, okay, sure, I guess. Then I guess they ended up making his drive impact a little better, which, I mean, it's cool, you know. A lot of the times whenever all the times I personally go for drive impact, like, I never really had to worry about it whiffing. But it was definitely, I've definitely seen clips, and it has happened in my own gameplay where it does just straight up whiff, and like Gief's hand is like right there, on like this shot right here, it'd be like right there, but even closer, and it would still whiff, which would definitely be annoying, and then you're like just super vulnerable in the opponent's face. So yeah, and then they ended up making, you know, lariat. Like, the hit will extend better if it's in a combo, but it's still not enough. You still can't do something like light into normal lariat and it'll connect. I'll show an example. Like, you can't do 3 lights. If you do something like this, it's just gonna whiff. Even if you do a far out, like, it's gonna whiff. So you pretty much still have to use meter just to get a light ender for like 12,000 damage. Not 12,000, 1,200 damage. It's still a very mid combo ender, I'm afraid, unless you use it off of, you know, your lights. I mean, not your lights, your mediums, which I think now if you use it off your mediums, I mean, it's pretty consistent, honestly. If you're in the proper range, like, it's gonna connect no matter what, which I do appreciate. Sorry, but yeah. And then another change they did, I think it's one of the last changes they did, was they made Siberian Express have more range, which, I mean, it's cool, I guess. I guess there were some situations where, like, if you go for, like, you know, whiff punish someone with the standing light kick, and then you go for an OD SVD, not OD SVD, an OD Siberian Express, if they're walking back, you'd actually miss. So I would assume that happens a little less often, which is cool. You know, no complaints there. But, like, for this, I mean, it's still nothing, like, super duper noticeable from what I've seen. And it's still, like, a really easy move to, like, mash on, unless you get, like, a counter hit, and unless you do, like, a counter hit, crouching medium punch, then I think it's, like, an actual frame trap. So it's still pretty situational, unless you just want to, like, really mix them up. But, I don't know. Overall, these changes for gief, they're just kind of weird for me. They aren't bad. I'm not going to say they're bad. I don't think they are. And I still think he is, ironically, the best, like, dedicated grappler in the game. Listen, I don't like Lily, and I don't have any real opinions on Monon. She's okay. But I want to say to you guys, to any of Monon or Lily players out there, I am sorry that your characters have been unplayable garbage since the release of this game over 2 years ago. Those are 2 characters that I genuinely think they have no idea what to do with, because they made their little buffing skills way too toxic, and so they're afraid to you know, try to buff them too much to where they hard snowball, and so they just like keep giving them these like little minuscule changes while also nerfing things about them. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the Lily change or catching heavy punch was completely deserved. That was the most brainless, most toxic anti-air in the entire game. Not even close. That move should have been nerfed years ago. But then, like, all of her other changes, they're just like whatever. They're like trying to change her her target combo. I'm just like, I don't think Lily players really use it like that, really, to begin with. But whatever. And then Monon, I mean, they nerfed probably one of the best things about her was her burnout pressure, which I find to be crazy, honestly. Because really, that was like her best thing. Her burnout pressure was like really good, no matter how you want to put it. That was like the best thing about her, without a doubt. Obviously, you know, her command grabs damage is cool and all, but if you got a burnout, like, you really had to be afraid of Monon, because of that reason. But now it's just like, oh no, she hits me on my, oh no, she's like hitting me in burnout. I'm able to mash a lot more, which makes it way less scary. But I digress. I think these changes for gief, he's still the best grappler in the game, probably. Not even close. And some of his like really bad matchups or really tough matchups, they got nerfed a little bit. And some things got better for him. I think the sweep change is actually pretty good for him, because if he got swept or you got hit by a sweep with gief, I mean, like, it kind of just sucked, because I mean, like, if you, like, let's say for example you're trying to sweep someone back, yours is just slower, so a lot of times like their sweep is gonna beat yours. That used to happen very often, and like even if you like would space it out all the way, you would get punish counter, which I know that didn't change with the patch, but it's still just the thing of like you're already big, and they made you bigger, so them like making it to where if you do get randomly swept, you can roll back. I think it's not bad. I think the change to stomps is cool. I think now it's like the only unscaled low in the game, which I find to be really funny. And I mean the change to OD SPD is cool. Them trying to make Lariat more consistent in combos, I also appreciate, but I think they just need to stop beating around the bush and just make this like this just always combo, always. And I also think they need to buff his level 2 speed and make level 1 an actual anti-air. If you're gonna make level 1 how it is, it has to actually like work and do its job. The amount of times I've literally cross-cut level 1 people just for it to whiff because it's too slow, it's frustrating. Because Lariat already is pretty bad as an anti-air. No matter what you want to say, it may be an easy anti-air, or it's not a good anti-air. There's a big difference there, and so that's also really annoying in itself. And it just sucks. It really does. Because gief already has to use a bunch of meter with how he's built design in this game, and so then whenever he gets put in burnout, or if he does get put in burnout, you literally just have to hope and pray your opponent doesn't have good block string pressure, and just hope you can get a standing heavy punch, because you're not going to be able to do Thunderstorm. That move is still non-existent. But yeah, when it comes to like the patch itself, I actually don't think it's all that bad. I have the opinion of people expect this game to have like Street Fighter V level of changes, and in my opinion, I just don't think it needs it. Like, I think this game came out with so many less issues than a game like Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V was just so undercooked the first couple of seasons. If you look at Season 1 of Street Fighter V and you look at Season 5 of Street Fighter V, I mean, they're pretty much just non-existent, like, genuinely. I mean, they're like completely different games in every way. But Street Fighter 6, it already has, multiple supers. It already has built-in mechanics, like pretty good built-in system mechanics. They have stuff like wake up drive reversal, drive rush. They have the burnout mechanic to punish people who are too crazy with spending their meter and whatnot. And so I think that they don't need to change the game that much to make things interesting, but I definitely think that they need to change stuff like throw looping. Like, I think if they just change throw looping, and maybe even like the risk reward of like doing like level 3. I think some characters level 3s and like their Oki afterwards it's just way too much, in my opinion. But if they just nerf throw loops at this point, I think you will see people complain about this game a whole lot less, and also probably just make it to where drive rush is easier to hit. A lot of characters have just very obnoxious moves that they will like drive rush out of, like Ken's Dragon Lash is an example of one. Luke's bitch ass back heavy punch is also an example. And so yeah, I think if they do changes like that, it'll be a whole lot less annoying. And you'll see people complain a lot less about the game in general. But I don't think this is a bad patch. I think some characters could have got a little more for it being like a major balance patch, as if they called it. Like, if I remember right, I was looking at JP's patch notes, and I was honestly flabbergasted because he had like I think 5 changes in total, and some of them were for modern. So he really had more like 3 changes if you're playing on classic. So it's just like he didn't get anything, and it's like all right, sure. I mean, if you want to have a, if you want to, I mean, I don't think he really needs that many changes to begin with. I think he's in a fine spot now, but like kind of just in general, it's just like if I were to be a JP player and see these changes, I would kind of just be sad because he didn't really get anything other than nerfs. So I'm just like, all right, sure. I guess that's the patch for him. But I mean, I don't know. I don't really feel much of a way about other characters' changes. I think Terry's changes were cool. I'm glad they actually ended up nerfing what was her name, Mai, because I'm sorry, Mai is probably, she is what people think Jury was for the longest, of just fireball, drive rush, throw loop, guess for game, non-stop, constant Oki pressure, all put into one character. I wholeheartedly think that Mai is the most toxic character they've ever put in this game. I know they've nerfed her a bit. I don't know how much these nerfs are going to really affect her, but she 100% was way too good, way too easy to pick up, and her pressure was just straight up too much. And she also had the issue that some characters have too, where it's like if you hit them, their projectile still stays, like it still exists, like in the world, so you can get counter hit really easily, which was very annoying. So then it would turn your own pressure, or like you trying to take your turn back, into, you know, basically just a reset, or if anything, it'll help the Mai player. It's just really annoying. I'm not trying to rant about these characters. Like I said, I think this patch really is actually not all that bad, and it's better than people will give it credit for. And Street Fighter 6 is a good game, despite what a lot of people want to say or think. But yeah, no, Mai was just not. She was not fun in any way. She wasn't fun to play as. She wasn't fun to fight. The only way she was really fun was if you were playing her, because you're just so oppressive for the other player, which it was just too much. It really was just way too much, and it is a lot. But yeah, and then for Elena, I don't think I mentioned her name at all this video yet, but Elena, she's a very cool character. I think it'd be kind of, personally, I have a hard time telling what she's doing, because honestly, all of the, like, the, how you say it, Kyropera characters, they honestly all like move the exact same. I feel that same way in like Street Fighter, not Street Fighter. I feel that same way in Tekken. Like, it's hard to really differentiate their moves. And another thing with Elena is like her idle animation is like really active, but like it doesn't really represent her hitbox very well, so that can be kind of like tricky to deal with. But I think she's a good addition. I think this game has a pretty big issue of being way too oversaturated with like all-rounder characters who can do everything. By the way, we have crouching medium kick, drive rush, throw loop, fireball, DP. I think there's way too many characters like that in this game. So that's why I appreciate characters like Elena, like Aki, like, honestly, like Ed, even though Ed is a very unfun industry plant character. That's why I appreciate characters like JP, is because if you look at the roster, so many characters play very similar, and their end goal is the exact same, which can be very kind of just stale, not only as a competitor / player, but also as just like a viewer in general. That's why people were complaining so much about like you know, Kane at his peak, because it was kind of just boring to watch him do the same thing really every game. So yeah. And then with the Season 3 DLC, I actually hit it completely out of the park. I think all of them are cool. I think Sea Viper is cool. I think she's a very cool character. I hope she's a very hard and technical character, just so she's not one of those characters where everybody can pick up to begin with. Because I think a big thing fighting game developers need to understand is that big appeal of fighting games is that they're hard to pick up, is that they're really rewarding to pick up. So I think we're at a point now where, like, okay, you can add these little accessibility features. If you want to add, you know, stuff, if you want to add stuff like that, sure, go ahead, right? If you wanna add modern controls, go ahead. If you wanna make the input buffer system a little easier, why not? But like, you have to make it like hard in some way, because I remember seeing this tweet about people complaining about the upcoming Invincible tag fighting game, and it was because they said, and I quote, they want a real game, not a fighting game. So to me, that just came off as, I mean, it had a lot of likes, so I think like 1,000 people liked it. So at least for me, I interpreted it as, okay, so a lot of people, if they have like their favorite series or whatever, it gets a fighting game, for example, they're still not going to be very interested in it because they think it's like really hard, or they're going to try to dumb it down into just mindless button mashing. So those are the type of people to where you can make the game as easy as you want. It's going to be hard to appeal to them. So why not just, make the game easier for people who genuinely want to try and improve at the games, but also still make it hard and rewarding for those more seasoned players, which I think a lot of fighting games nowadays try way too hard to appeal to like people who are just picking up the game. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not. I think the more people playing fighting games, the better. But I mean, like, people think Guilty Gear Strive is too easy. People think Street Fighter 6 is way too easy. And I see their complaints. I really do. There's not, like, for some characters in this game, you don't have to learn any hard like specific tech. Where, back in like older games, stuff like kara canceling, plinking, plink dashing, all that stuff was just the standard for some characters, right? So I don't know. I think that really realistically, that we need more like those unique, weird, hard characters in this game now. I think we have plenty of all-rounders now, and I think it's time to move on to something to like more different characters. Like, if Ingrid is an all-rounder or whatnot, I don't really think that would make much sense, because she's basically just an Athena clone, and I say this as an Athena enjoyer. Like, and when I play KOF, she's always on my team. It's not even a debate. I love Athena. But I don't hate Ingrid either. But I think if she plays more like, how she did in the Alpha games, like a little unique spin on it, sure. But I don't think she just needs to be, another fireball, crouching medium kick, drive rush, throw loop, DP type of character with all of her supers or reversals. I'm just like, we can make things a little bit more different now, guys, please. Which I think they did, because, there's Viper, and she plays pretty unique. She has a super jump in Street Fighter 4, which traditionally Street Fighter does not have super jumps pretty much ever. Outside, I guess Third Strike had super jumps, but they're still not like very commonly used. And really doing super jumps in that game, they didn't really help you very much. You have Sagat, who's going to be the next character, which I think, while Sagat does have pretty much everything I just said, he plays different. He really does. I played him a lot in Street Fighter 5. Because he has, the high fireball, the low fireball, and add stuff to him. All his moves in Street Fighter 5 are actually pretty unique. And he's also one of those characters where it's pretty rewarding to play. You have to learn good spacing with just how he moves. He's a very slow, tall character, which I'm just going to say now, it's probably not going to help him very much in this game. That type of stuff doesn't really help in general. But then he also has pretty long normals, good zoning tools. So he's not necessarily just a traditional fireball character like Ryu. And hopefully in this game, from what I saw at least in his like little gameplay trailer we saw, he's gonna have more of his like V-trigger moves put into his actual base kit. Because that was one pretty unfun thing about playing him in Street Fighter 5, was just that like all of his actually new moves were just locked behind V-trigger. But that was kind of just like a Street Fighter 5 issue in itself. And, I could mention the best one for last, obviously. It's Alex. Alex is my actual Street Fighter main. Every game he's in, I play him no questions asked. I play him in Street Fighter New Generation, Street Fighter Second Impact, Third Strike, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. I think he's cool on that one. I hope they add machine gun chops. I think that one's really, really funny. Street Fighter 5, I think he is easily one of the most fun characters in the game. that has a lot going on actually, and I think he's actually pretty rewarding to play. And you have to learn stuff like charge inputs. You have to learn how to space some of his moves, some of his tech and whatnot. He was definitely he was definitely one of the more mechanically demanding characters in my opinion. Just because he had not very much, but he was also like a brawler slash grappler type of character. So you did still have to do a little more work than most characters, and also he had the stuff like if you did lariat into what was it, heavy chop. If you delayed it long enough, you could frame trap with the backdrop. And you know it's just I think he's gonna be a great addition to this game. I think he should have been, honestly, I think he should have been a base character. I'm going to double down on that because Street Fighter 6 is a direct sequel to Street Fighter 3, and Alex is a main character of the Street Fighter 3 games. So, I don't know why it took them this long, but just seeing him get announced, it made me very happy. Okay, that's all I'm going to say, because he is really a great character. I don't really understand. If you don't like Alex, I just don't think you like fun in general. I know Demon Dan's happy. I know Prototype is happy. I know Twisted Rivera is happy. And whenever he comes out, I hope you guys know I am going all in on like competing for Evo or just competing in general. I already wanted to more so this year, especially in the later half of me being fully out of high school and whatnot. So basically, you're going to see a whole lot more of me whenever Alex comes out. And I don't care if he's going to be bad on release or whatnot. I really don't. You guys already know. If you guys knew me all the way back from Smash, I played Little Mac, and that sells and change. I don't care about if a character is good or not. I care about if the character just looks cool and feels good to play. They could be bottom one. I'm still gonna try to find a way to make it work. There's always more to learn with the game. So yeah, I really like Alex. I'm happy he's back, and I hope to see all the Alex players come on full swinging, and yeah, that's really it. That's all I have for this video. It also gonna turn into a ramble session, but I haven't really posted in a while, so I kind of just wanted to give my thoughts on Street Fighter 6 as a whole, a little bit, my opinion on this patch, my opinion on gief. And actually, I should clarify one thing right now. Whenever Alex does come out, I'm not gonna stop doing gief content, but I'm gonna probably do less gief content. But that is still a whole year of me doing gief content and like maybe some other things mixed in here or there. And so there's still a lot of big things I want to do, and kind of like a little bit of a send off, quote unquote, that I wanted to do for gief on my channel, because I just like Alex more. I was probably gonna do a video kind of like False Swipe Gaming's videos, where it would just be how good was Zangief actually, and kind of just go through like all like the history of the character. And yeah, because gief is a character that has had a lot of ups and some really low downs, because Capcom hates grapplers. And yeah, so that's all I really have for this video. Yeah, if you guys like the video and like hearing me yap and ramble for a whole 40 minutes straight, let me know down in the comments if you guys have any opinions on what I said. If you disagree, agree, you can feel free to, voice your opinion there. And that's all I really have for this video. Expect a stream probably tomorrow or the day after I post this video. And yeah, that's all I really got. So see you guys.